Okay, well, this sermon is entitled Palm Sunday Pre-Party because it really is a party. That's what we're trying to do right there. You guys did a good job. I mean, from going to, you can shake those at any time during this message, and that won't get you anything. But you can do it. I'm for it. I like a little noise. Always feel like that, too. If you're a parent here with little kids that come on, like, family, we want noise. A funeral home has no noise. A church congregation with kid noise is a healthy thing. It's okay. It's a good thing. So just to remind us of that. Noise is good. And it certainly was noisy on those streets coming into Jerusalem. Like, you can't imagine how crazy that was. It's a party, but it's also a pre-party in the sense of, sometimes we think that the triumphal entry was a one-day event. You know, like Jesus comes into the city, and that's the triumphal entry. That's Palm Sunday. But the truth is, that tour Jesus was on, the Messiah, the King coming into Jerusalem, the city, it ends in Jerusalem, but it's many, many weeks and months of coming. It is a tour, and it really fires up a few days before in the city of Jericho, old Jericho. That's where it really starts to get intense. And that's where we're picking it up. That's what Jim read. That's happening in Jericho, the story of Zacchaeus. And thankfully, we have an eyewitness to what happened there. So we're going to watch his testimony of a guy who got swept up into the mania of the King's Parade in Jericho. Let's watch.
There are two kinds of prisons. The ones used to hold criminals, metal bars, fences of razor wire, prison guards. And then there are prisons we construct in our own minds. Mental bars, fences, and yes, even prison guards. Incarcerated, imprisoned internally, and there is no easy path to freedom.
Zacchaeus climbed a sycamore tree in order to capture a glimpse of Jesus. Zacchaeus could not have guessed this simple act would profoundly transform his life in a matter of minutes.
You know me. I'm famous. Not because I deserve to be, but due to a children's song about me. A cute song that isn't as socially acceptable as it once was. Good news for me. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. Maybe you sang that in Sunday school. If you're new to church, maybe you've not heard the song. Again, good news for me. I detest that song. Not because it says I am height challenged. I detest the song because it only tells a part of my story. No one likes it when only a part of their story is told, especially a part they wish wasn't. Not only does it not tell the most important thing about me,
that was going to be good right there.
It's actually the thing that you most need to hear. So despite what you know or don't know about me, I'm here to tell you about it. As the song says, I do climb a sycamore tree because I want to see the Lord. Yes, I have to climb up high, not only because I am not tall. I need to get away from the crowds. Yes. The Lord is coming through my town of Jericho, and the people are turning out by the hundreds. But I'm a tax collector, you see. Very unpopular with the people of my town. Not dissimilar to how you feel about the IRS. It's just more personal. And these crowds, yes, they are hardcore. Maybe take the opportunity to rough me up. Maybe slip a knife in my ribs hardcore. An additional reason to detest the song, it misquotes Jesus. The song says the Lord sees me in the tree and says, Zacchaeus, come down, for I'm going to your house today. He doesn't say that. What he says is, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I must come to your house today. Jesus calls me by name, tells me to hurry, tells me to come down, and then says he must come to my house today. One last reason I detest the song. It says I'm happy because I see the Lord, which is completely false. I was so far beyond happy, more like ecstatic or exultant even. But here's the thing you need to know. It's not just because I see the Lord, which is amazing in and of itself. It's because I get released from prison. Backstory. I live in Jericho. It's an old, worn-out town, the kind of town almost anybody would be happy to leave and move anywhere else for a new start. It's on a major highway, so it has lots of travelers coming through. It's good for business. My business. I am the chief tax collector in town. I collect taxes from caravans, visitors, residents, whomever. Most of these taxes go to Rome, to the emperor, who everybody in town hates. But I get to keep a fee and whatever extra I can collect. The Bible says people of my town call me a sinner. From that, you can infer they think my profession is sinful and that I probably collect more taxes than they think I should. Which is not entirely incorrect. The Bible also says I am wealthy. Make of that what you will. That's enough about me for you to realize that people don't like me. I'm kind of stuck in the penalty box. But in actuality, it's a prison. It doesn't matter to me that I'm short, but it does matter to me what others think of me. I've been made fun of my entire life. This is deflected by humor or braininess. I'm tired of being an outcast. I want people to like me and admire me, and I want that way too much. I love money. I love being wealthy. I love the power. I can tell people what to do. I can do the things I want. Money allows me to be the center of attention. Money allows me to think about me. It allows me to not think about the fact that my profession and my actions have separated me from my own people. So I want money because I want power. So I can be the center of attention. So people will admire me. So people will like me. Yet I'm an outcast. Vicious cycle. The things I do to get what I want confine me to a place I hate. Prison bars of my own making. A captive by my own design, an invisible cell, incarceration from within. Let's finish my story. Jesus looked at me in the tree and said, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I must come to your house today." I scrambled down out of the tree as fast as I can and welcomed Jesus to my town, to my house. But there was one thing I hadn't planned on. I welcomed him into my life. He wanted to be in my life, not because I was rich, not because I was smart. God knows I'm not tall. Jesus wanted to be in my life because he loved me. And I could sense it. Deep down, I knew it. I didn't deserve it. But that didn't seem to matter to him. My tears melt my prison bars. Free. I'm free. I heard murmurs in the background, whispers of the crowd. Jesus is going to the house of a sinner. I don't care. It's their problem, not mine. I don't need their approval. Not anymore. Before I even know what I'm saying, I hear myself. Lord, right now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times that amount. I was overcome with happiness. It wasn't about me looking good. I gave away half of my wealth, and I'm giddy. I'm free. Jesus smiled, laughed along with me. He pointed right at me. I hear him say to the whole crowd, it was like an out-of-body experience. Today, salvation has come to this house because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Jesus' words. By these words, Jesus is restoring me to my community, recognizing my release from my prison. The first stories I'd ever heard about Jesus was when he was in Nazareth, his hometown. He read from the book of Isaiah. He says this, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners." Freedom for the prisoners. He wasn't talking just about the people in prison. He meant all of us, in our prisons, prisons of our own making, behind prison bars of our minds. Prison bars can be things your parents said to you as a child, words friends said to you many years ago, memories, bad memories, abusive memories. It's easy to see substance abuse as a prison, but there are many types of addictions: business, work, entertainment, consequences from past actions even, desperately wanting to please others, desperately wanting admiration. Jesus came to proclaim freedom for the prisoners. And though it may not be an easy path, he will be there to lead you on the path to freedom.
Okay, good insight right there. So Zacchaeus breaking free from a prison of his own making. And that is really how it works. So let's dig into the text to see, how did Zacchaeus get free in meeting Christ? Let's go into Luke 19, verse 1. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see Christ, for he was about to pass that way. So who's Zacchaeus in the culture? The video does a decent job of that. He's viewed by his community as a traitor and a thief, and that's actually pretty accurate. His name means pure one. That's what Zacchaeus means. Nothing could be further from the truth. He has a contract from Rome to collect taxes for Rome, who's oppressing his people. And on top of that, and that could be 60% of a poor person's income. On top of that, he's gouging the people to make himself rich. So his sin, and it is sin, is deadly to poor people. So he's quite evil. That's the sense of it, and he's quite hated. Because in Sunday school cartoons, you can see Zacchaeus as kind of a cute little elf up on a shelf. But what he's viewed at, as he is that day, is like an evil troll up in a tree. That's Zacchaeus. And he deserves it. He deserves some of that hate, because he's given his heart away to something that makes him a traitor, makes him extort, and really victimize his fellow Jews. That's Zacchaeus. That's how he's viewed. And he's small. The Greek word is mikros, so he's a little guy. So he's hated, he's a little guy, but God has cooking for him a divine appointment. You can see in his initial curiosity, he's got this gnawing desire to see Jesus. So much so that he's willing to climb up a tree. So something's going on where he wants to know about this Jesus he's heard about. And other things happen. Let's read. Verse 5. And when Jesus came to the place by that tree, he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So Zacchaeus hurried and came down and received Christ joyfully. And when the crowd saw it, they all grumbled. "Jesus has gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner." And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I'll restore it fourfold." We've said this before. Sharing a meal in the first century, it's a sign of acceptance. So that's a big deal, to share a meal. And then take it up a notch, a sleepover. That's big, big, big. So Christ, and Zacchaeus knows it. He knows that what Jesus is doing here is accepting him and wanting relationship with him. And Zacchaeus knows he doesn't deserve any of that. And that kind of love and acceptance, it transforms Zacchaeus. And here's how you know. His money changes. His attitude towards money changes. because he's willing to give half of his possessions away, which is huge, right? Think of giving half your possessions away. 401k, everything. You're like, half of it, I'm just going to give to the kingdom. I know that doesn't make sense, and other people would say that and be like, that's bad financial stewardship. Yeah, but you don't care. You're just so generous because you've been touched by the radical grace of God. It hits you. And then he gives 4 times back what he's defrauded, which is way more than the Old Testament stipulation. So something radical is taking place, and you can tell it because it's hitting his attitude about money. See, Jesus spoke more about money than any other topic in the New Testament. You know this, most of you. Like, he's hitting money over and over and over and over again, in part because true conversion only takes place when all of your life comes under the lordship of God, and that includes money. So when a person gets kind of interested in Christianity, it hasn't rung true yet until their attitude of money is changed, because treasure has to change in your heart and your mind. That's what God does when he awakens you. He transforms things, and that's what you can see with Zacchaeus. Because here's a great insight. Your treasure, your real treasure, is whatever you'll pursue regardless of the pushback you get for doing so. That's your real treasure. Let me say that again, because that bodes well. Your treasure, your real ultimate treasure, is whatever you're willing to pursue regardless of the pushback you get for doing so. Ridicule, other people's bad opinion of you, you might not like it, but it won't stop you from going after this treasure. That's what Zacchaeus is doing with money. Money's his master, so he's willing to go after it, full well knowing that it's going to anger his neighbors and his community members. But he doesn't care, because, see, money is his treasure. And why is money his treasure? I don't know. Is it just naked greed? Or is, for him, a little guy, wealth is his armor? Like, it's what makes other people respect me. Whatever it is, he values it high enough, he's just going to go after it no matter what the pushback is. For Zacchaeus, his treasure is money. And weirdly, for Jesus, his treasure is Zacchaeus. Does that make sense? Because he's willing to go after Zacchaeus, this dirty tax collector, knowing full well that his parade crowd, the people that are cheering him, are going to be disappointed or shocked or horrified by it. Your treasure, your real treasure, is whatever you'll go after regardless of the pushback you know you're going to get because of it. That's what treasure is. And for Jesus, his treasure is Zacchaeus. And that acceptance changes Zacchaeus. That alone changes him. I think that alone is what changes people. To really do that spiritual root canal where the things you've been worshiping, which are idols and small, are cast aside and God becomes your treasure, only happens when you understand how much you've been accepted, that God treasures you. That's when things get loose. That's when the cement gets wet and things can change. Because think about it, for us, money is what we go to for the things that God would have us go to him for as ultimate. Security, respect, joy, like whatever it is that makes us pine after money are the things God says, I want you to find those things in me. I'm your treasure and you're my treasure. And that's what changes things for Zacchaeus. And then Jesus talks about what has taken place here when he says, Jesus said to Zacchaeus, today salvation has come to this house, since he also, Zacchaeus, is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. And that verse 10 is like a key to the whole book of Luke. It's actually the key to understanding Holy Week. It really doesn't make sense unless this is true. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Like Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, he's just sweating his blood. He's terrified of the enormous pain and wrath of a holy God that's going to come upon him. Those aren't fake tears. He's quite terrified of that and would like any other way out of that. But it makes sense if you understand that the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. He's on a mission. That's what makes Good Friday good. How is it good that somebody died in a torturous, horrible execution? Well, it is if he came to seek and save the lost, of which I am one. That's what makes it good. It's very good. That adjective's on purpose, Good Friday. Really good. The Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. By lost, we don't mean like I lost my car keys locating something difficult. Lost in the sense of we are broken on our own beyond self-repair, and we've done the breaking. And he knows that, and he never gets over us. That's a big part. He never, ever gets over us. This last week, I had a chance, it was a great opportunity to work with the event that Jill Wilson puts on at the high school, Financial Reality Town. She teaches a class there. It's so good. It's just such a good, I can recommend it to you. Like, when that comes up, I think it's twice a year to help out. If you have that availability, it's such a good event. Because you see these maybe 100 students, juniors, when it dawns on them, like, hey, I got to manage my money. They're like, oh, and they're broke at some points. A good number of them are just broke, and they're kind of despairing. You're like, good, better to feel it here than out there, right? So it's just a really good event, and there's all these different tables set up and many, many different volunteers, like 40, who help this happen, and it is a great, great, great event. And it reminded me about working with students. I mean, they're just great. I love students. They're great. And the different tables are like housing and transportation and healthcare, all these things you need as an adult. And then my table was cell phones, which is the last thing they came to, and I was encouraged by that. I'm like, all right, cell phones and cable. So it just reminded me of working with students. If I present the gospel to them like this, going all in with Jesus like Zacchaeus does, he's all in. He's like, you're my hope and my salvation. That's why I can take money and like, that's okay. I'll use that as a slave to get you glory, but I'm not going to serve that anymore. It's a horrible master, right? He just has this, boop, he's all in. He's a follower of Jesus. If I present that to those kids, here's going to be their resistance. It's going to fall under a couple of different things. One, they may not think they're a sinner and they need a Savior. That's possible. The other thing is, and this is a bigger one, is that they think if they go all in with Jesus, what happens if I get bored with God? That's really what they're worried about. What happens if I go into God and then I find that boring after a while? Because I could present the gospel really clearly and be like, hey, you know you need a Savior. God made this world. It's not accidental. They'd be like, yeah, there'd be a lot of head shaking. And I'd say, are you all in? And they would probably say, nah, I don't want to miss out. Which is pretty crazy. That's like saying, you know what? I've been eating worms and dirt for a long time. And if I trade up to gourmet food, I'm going to miss out. And they're like, well, you will miss out on the worms and the dirt. Or like, if I don't get bit by a snake, I will not live a full life. I'm like, well, that's true, sort of. But the better life, the adventure is there. So that's a weird fear, but it's because they've been 7-year-olds, just like many of you have been 7-year-olds. So they've gone from thing to thing, just like my son. You know, he like, talk drones. I want a drone, talk drones, dream drones, talk drones. Save his money for months to get a drone. Just wear us out with drone talk. Get the drone, go hard on it for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, less drone, and he doesn't know where the drone is. And then, remote control boat. Remote control boat. Oh, my life would be complete with a remote control boat. Remote control boat. And then, pretty soon, we don't know where the boat is. And then compound, it just keeps going. And they've been a 7-year-old long enough to know contentment can be like a moving target. What if I get bored with God? I go all in and then I get bored, which again is pretty crazy. It's like God is the source of ongoing wonders, both wonders of knowing Him and knowing about life, adventure. I mean, think about this. God is the infinite mind that knows what's under the ocean way down in the Mariana Trench, 7 miles deep. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. Nobody knows about it except God. That infinite mind is somebody like, you attach yourself to me, I'll walk with you. You'll get to know me, my plans for your life. When you enjoy creation, you'll enjoy deeper because you'll know the Creator. I mean, all this stuff is just deeper, more abundant life, right? But as a teenager, you just don't get that mostly. When you get older, that fear is less so because you've been disappointed by sinful pleasures long enough to know, I'm not usually happy by that stuff. But at this point, they just think, what if I get bored with God, right? But a more founded fear and a truer one is, what if God gets bored with me? We don't usually think about that. Think about that. What if God would get bored with me and find me tired, small-timey, selfish? What if God gets bored with me? You know, when we were doing the cell phone selling, that was Lindy and I at the end. They're broke, super broke, right? So I have a list of things like, let's not even talk about cable. You're not getting cable or internet at your house. You can go to the library, and they're like, oh, the library. And I'm the worst person to sell that stuff because I don't believe in any of that. I'm like, don't worry, just read books. You'll be fine. But they have to get a phone. And the phone that they can get one phone, and they got a spouse. They can only afford one phone. And we're so like, well, you know, your spouse isn't going to have a phone. And they said, well, maybe that's good. Then they won't cheat on me. And I got to tell you, that is so disturbing, but actually not uncommon. That idea that I get into a relationship, there's oftentimes girls that would say that. If I get into a relationship, what happens when that person gets bored with me and moves on to the next shiny thing? Isn't that, it's so true though. And if you really think about it, it's not a crazy fear. If you think about God, He's infinite. He's amazing. He's holy. He's great. Why? Why in the world would He not get over us? I mean, think how small and selfish we are. Like, my best work and my worst work as a pastor or a parent is done at low stakes with nobody watching, right? I mean, here's the things I grapple with, these big, hefty thoughts like, I wonder how we're going to use up the chicken in the fridge before it goes bad, or how many more miles can I get on those minivan tires before I have to get new ones, or I wonder if we have enough communion bread for Communion Sunday. Really big geopolitical thoughts, right? That's us. We live small-timey lives. We're afraid of that because we do. We do live small lives. You know, if you had a favorite president, he summoned you to the Oval Office, you'd go, and after 10 minutes, you'd be giddy, but then it would weigh on you. How am I going to engage and keep this person interested? Like, they have access to every brilliant person in the world if they want to. And here are me. I'm so small. Not to mention I'm sinful, right? That's an amazing thought. What if God gets over me? My goodness, that is Good Friday. That's just proof God is saying, I don't get over you. I rejoice over you. There's this amazing scene in the book of Nehemiah where the people that have just turned their backs on God for generations in wicked ways, serving everything else other than the God that made them as a nation and drew them to Himself and created them for worship of Him, to find their fulfillment there. All the things we were created for, too. They turn their back on God for just years and years. Finally, He lets them go into exile, like gives them a spanking and lets them have consequences. And then He draws them back to Jerusalem. And they rebuild the walls. And then the whole people come together. They built this platform for the priest to read from the book of the law. And all day long, he reads from the book of the law. And the people just begin to weep because they know what they weren't and how much they don't deserve God. And then Nehemiah says this. It's such a good line. It's a favorite verse I have. Don't be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So good. He's like, stop crying. This is not that kind of day. Rejoice that God rejoices over you, that He will never get over you. Because that is the message of the gospel. Here's the message. The message is, I will never get over you, because if you're in my Son, I never get over my Son. I always find Him interesting and worthwhile. I love Him. I rejoice over Him. If you're in my Son, you are a son and daughter in the same family. That is the gospel. It's quite freaky. It's quite joyful. And that's why we land on this.